Hired by Jeannie Buss, president of the Lakers, the best.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you grew up in LA, you kind of have to be a Lakers fan. I mean, you could be a Clippers fan too, but you know, our family's Lakers. So yeah, I mean, I was never a big basketball fan. I grew up with Baron Davis. We were in the same grade in high school, and he went to go play pro. So I feel like I learned a lot about basketball from him, but other than that, I was always a football girl. So this was a fun new world to get into, and thanks to STASSEN, who loves basketball, and Brenda Song, I feel like I really got like I have people who can school me and give me some tips.
Did you meet Jeannie?
Oh yeah, I've known Jeannie when I was 14. We were big Kings family. They're actually playing right now, the Kings. But yeah, it was the golden era, like the Gretzky era of Los Angeles Kings, and Jeannie ran the Forum Club, and I was a very naughty teenager. And I liked going into the Forum Club and seeing if I could get drinks, but this was when I was a little bit older. And she would always make sure that, you know, she always kept a watchful eye on me. And the other day, she actually showed me all these pictures she has of me at like 18. And I was like, where did you get these pictures? She was like full on blackmail. But yes, I've known Jeannie, you know, more like that for years.
Mindy, tell us about how you lit on this story to tell as a kind of comedic take on LA life. And also, you know, I remember seeing you, I think it was at the Golden Globes this year, and you were talking about what a treat it was to work with Kate on this show. So can you speak to those things a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, speaking of Jeannie Buss, she approached me about doing a show about her life in the front office of the Lakers. Her and Linda Rambis, the great Linda Rambis, her partner in crime, loved The Office, and they were a fan of my shows after that, and they thought we would love to see a version of that. And what's great about them as collaborators, you know, that Dave and Ike have realized in working with them, is that there's no limits, you know, in a comedy like this, which is there's like a lot of wild stuff in it. They don't give us parameters, and they're not scared about what we might do, which if someone was doing the show loosely based or loosely inspired on me, I'd be pretty protective, which isn't good for comedy. And so they've been such great partners in this. And then I come from a family that loves basketball. I grew up in Boston. My dad is a huge Celtics fan. Can't say that too loudly in this room. I know, but like, darn, you know, and I would just like Larry Bird, and you know, it's like Hondo Havlicek, JoJo White. Like, you love the Celtics. I grew up loving the sport. And when I worked in the MINDY project, these two guys couldn't shut up about the Bulls. They're huge Chicago Bulls fans. And so when Jeannie had approached me and I wanted to do the show, you know, they were my first choices to work on the project. And they've been terrible. And we've been saddled with them on this panel. If you could just crop them out in a photo of just the three of us, that'd be great.
This seems like a good time to ask you guys how you have such a lovely collaboration together after all this time working in collaboration on the MINDY project, etc. It seems like you guys have a shorthand. So Ike, perhaps you could speak to how the collaboration works.
Yeah, I mean, I think we have always loved each other. I think we
hesitated. We've always loved each other.
Well, I'm trying to think of a polite way to say we have the same stupid sense of humor.
Yes.
We laugh at you know, people being haughty and kind of dumb and inappropriate, and I think we have a very similar comedic sensibility. Dave and I are basically the same person, so it's really, you know, Mindy was the new thing to, you know, join our sensibility, and it's very similar.
We kind of share a brain.
There's no distinction between the two of us.
Well, they grew up together.
Like Tweedledee and Tweedledum.
Yeah, mostly dumb. But we hadn't worked with Mindy since the MINDY project, and we literally were always like, we miss Mindy, we miss writing with Mindy and breaking stories with her and stuff. And so when she came around with this, our first question was, let's talk money. What are we looking at financially? Right down on a piece
You're both
of paper what
motivated
we're
a lot
looking at.
by how lucrative something could be.
Yeah,
We're not-
I'm a businessman first, writer second. And if it's not a good deal, I walk. But it was, I guess.
Should we get into our deal?
As before, what you said before, and I think we can all talk about this, but it's like been working with Kate, which no, we did, and that's like what it is, and we feel so lucky to be able to work with Kate. I mean, I've written for Steve Carell, Emma Thompson, and it's so nice to work with someone who can do comedy and drama. And she is just as compelling doing this like very complicated basketball speak about an intense deal as she is walking into a glass wall, I think, which she did multiple times.
Yes.
It was maybe her favorite thing to do. She ended up being the one pitching it extra some days.
You did make her do that quite a few times.
They were very worried about me when I was doing it too. I was like, guys, I got this.
But Dave, I wanted to ask you actually, there is something about this show that is universally compelling. As I say, like I'm not from this country, I'm not a basketball person, and yet none of that mattered. So tell me about some of the ways you tackled getting that balance so that you don't need to be a sports fan.
Well, I think we were drawn to the fact that it was just going to be this powerful family that ran a really cool company, a really cool family business, but we spent a lot of time, talking about how the siblings were going to be different and how they were going to bounce off each other and mostly not get along. But at the end of the day, they're going to love each other, and that sounds cliched, but we got really lucky that Kate and Scott MacArthur and Drew Tarver and Justin Theroux and Fabrizio, that they all ended up having this great dynamic. And so it was about, I think it was just so attractive of us having this crazy dysfunctional family that was just keeping this really cool, sleek-looking business on the surface looking great, but underneath it all, it was just constant, problems and fighting and crises that they had to figure out.
And at the head of it is this kind of strong woman who's thrown into this world, and I think that's something we like to write to, and it makes it more fun and real.
I really love that Isla is a woman in a man's world, but she doesn't have to act like a man to succeed. She just acts like herself, because it turns out she knew a ton about basketball, but no one was listening. And I love that.
Is it controversial to say that I feel like women don't act like men to succeed anymore. I think that's maybe part of what's fun about playing a part like this is like, there's like, no, it's we're kind of past the working girl era of that discovery. It's like now we're just sort of, for me, it's all more about getting validation from my brothers, who I want them to see that more the family dynamic, that I can do what our dad did, and I love too, like this, like we talk about this all the time, like this sort of sexiness of like a woman in this world that is so testosterone filled. You can't, I mean, it's just, there's nothing more different than a woman walking into a man's locker room than anything. It's like, do I belong there? And I think those things really play great in comedy and for this. For sure.
How much did you guys, sorry, go ahead.
Well, no, I was going to say one other thing, which is that when they were talking about kind of like the family dynamic and what that is, it's like one of the great things about reading the scripts for the first time was that they're so on the page. The way that it could, now that we've done it, it could be anybody else, but they were so well defined on the page that when we got into character, it's like we all knew our assignment. We were all very aware of what our assignment was when we were there, and then so it felt seamless.